Hi everybody and welcome back for another Scratch program tutorial. My name is Russell and today we are going to be making a video game. So I've titled this video game the Swat Game, and how this game is going to work is that we have two sprites. We have the cat, which he's not going to do anything, and we have the bat. And the bat is going to duplicate itself all over the board here when we press start, and then you're going to hit him with the mouse. All you have to do is move the mouse over him. One of the bats will disappear. It'll raise your score by 1 or a couple points, and then the timer will go down. So that's how the game works. So let's hit start here, and we'll see the end product. So we're going to hit the green flag. There we go. Tons of bats. So now this is a pretty fun game. I put 25 bats, so it's a little out of control. You can lower the number to make it a little bit more challenging. You can also make the bats bigger, smaller, but this is a fun game. So let's take a peek inside. So we're going to click here, and we're going to go to see inside our program. Now here we have our cat. He is not doing much. When clicked, he's going to this portion of the screen, and that's it. That's all that cat sprite's doing. All of our code is coming from our bat number 1. And as you can see here, there's some code going on. It's pretty complex. We have some variables, we have some loops, we have nested loops, loops within loops, we have some pick random action, and we have some sensing blocks. So this is probably a medium level difficulty, but even a first-time Scratch user could pick up on this, especially if they're just following along with what you're saying. So let's get started. What we're going to do, we're going to go to File, New, and it's going to bring us up to a new page. We could also, if you're on the Scratch main page, which you might be on, you can go to Create. It'll bring us to the same page, a new project, and we'll begin. So the first thing we're going to do is drag our cat down to the corner here. So we have our cat sprite, we're going to keep him. We don't need him. If we wanted to later on, we could make him talk in the game, say good job, or okay, let's begin, click a button to begin. But we're just going to have him sitting in the corner. But we'll keep him in the game so that we have the option later on if we wanted to add some animation to him to make the game a little bit more interactive. But we're just going to work on the basic game dynamics here. So what we're going to do for our cat, we're going to go to our blocks palette, we're going to go to events when the green flag is clicked. So events are what start the program. It's essentially the go button in Scratch. And we're going to go over here to motion and find X and Y coordinates. So we placed him over here, so he's going to stay at these coordinates. So where he is right now is exactly what these coordinates say. You can change it a little bit if you want to move him up or down, but that's it. That's it for our cat. Now what we're going to do, we're going to go to our bat. So what we're going to do, down here in the new sprite menu, we're going to click the first button, choose sprite from library. And you're going to see lots of options. Now this portion of the screen, this portion of the presentation, it's a big time waster for students. When you open the sprite library, they want to go through and look at each and every one. And they do it very seriously, and they look at each one, and it can waste tons of time. So what we're going to do is convince them just to click the bat 1, and click OK. And now we have our bat. And then we can move on to the actual coding of it. So the very first thing we're going to do is go to Events, and we're going to select the when the green flag is clicked. And again, this is essentially just the start button for Scratch, or for the individual sprites. So when the green flag is clicked, now we're going to jump right into variables. So this is a pretty complex topic. It's one of the most important topics in computer programming in general, so it's really important that students are exposed to these topics. Actually, this next section might be the hardest. We're going to address variables, loops, and then some random actions, so kind of simulating artificial intelligence. But here we go. We're going to start with variables. We're going to go to data. So now a variable in coding, a variable is the name for a place where you can store information. They're also used to remember things such as the score, a player's name, a character's speed. So in this game, we're going to use 3 variables right now. 1, we're going to have a maximum number of bats on the screen. 2, we're going to have keep track of the number of bats on the screen. And then 3, we're going to do a score. So let's start. Let's click Make a Variable. And now if your students aren't getting everything, you don't have to be a professional programmer. I mean, sometimes variables, it's a hard topic to go over. Sometimes your students will go over it for an entire year if they're in school doing a computer science course, and by the end of the year they've mastered variables or even just the basic usage of variables. So don't worry too much if they're not completely getting it. It's better just to power through with the worksheet and to design the game, and then when they have the actual finished product, maybe they can look back and say, oh, I understood that, or at least they're being exposed to it. So our first variable, we're going to type in max bats. So what we're doing is giving variables names, and we're going to have all these clicked for all sprites here. Sometimes you can use variables just for a specific sprite, but for this one we're going to do for all. So first one, max bats, we're going to click it again and do bats on screen and click OK. Make another variable, and this one, big capital letters, score. Okay, we have our 3 variables. And now with any line of code in a real computer program, you would assign your variables right up front. So this is right where we're going to put them. So right here we're going to drag set score to 0 3 times. The first one, we're going to change to max bats. Second one, we're going to change to bats on screen. So again, we drag the score block, or we drag the set score to block up here 3 times, and we change the max bats, bats on screen, and then score. So right now we're going to change max bats to, let's do 25. And that is going to set the variable 25. It's going to control how many bats we see on the screen. Well, that's the maximum number of bats we're going to see on the screen. This block right here, bats on screen, that's going to start the game at 0 and then go up. So all that's to say we have our variables. Now it's time for our loop. This is when we get into the actual programming of our sprite. So we want something to happen. We want the sprite to duplicate itself all over the screen like we saw in the intro. To do that, we need a loop. We need to tell him to do that forever. So we're going to get a forever loop. So we want him to do something forever within the program. Now we can make him stop doing something within the program. We can put that into the loop, which we're going to. But let's choose forever for now. So forever loop. And then the second most important concept in coding next to variables is the if-then loop. The if-then loop tells your program that if something happens, then do something else. That's how you get your program to be interactive. So if-then loop, we're going to go to operators, and we're going to select the less than symbol. So if something is less than something, then do something else. So we're going to go to data, find our variables. So data is going to be where our variables always are. Okay. So we're going to go bats on screen. So if bats on screen are less than the max bats, then we want something to happen in this program. What do we want to happen? Well, we're going to go over here to looks, and we're going to select set size to. So if bats on screen is less than max bats, we want our variable to change, or we want our sprite to change size. So we're going to go to operators, and we're going to do pick random. Now we're going to use 4 of these pick randoms in the next few blocks. Pick random is how you make a game fun. If the same thing happens every time, if this bat keeps flashing right here on the screen every time, that is not going to be fun. You're going to know right where it is. If you're playing a whack-a-mole game and the mole always shows up in the center, then there's no chance. It's not fun. So we want there to be chance. So what we're going to do is do pick random. So now we're going to go 50 to, you can type in any number you want, but 50 to 75. How about that? Okay. So that's going to change his size from 50 to 75. So the different bats that are going to pop up, they're going to be different sizes. So it's going to make it a little bit different. It's going to be random. Now we're going to do another looks block and change costume. So switch costume to, it's already preset to bat 1B. So over here in costumes, you'll see it'll move from here, from A to B, but we want them to switch back and forth. So we're going to go to scripts. We're going to go to operators, and we're going to do another pick random. And we can leave it at 1 to 10. It'll just alternate between 1 and 2. But for good code, let's change this to 2. That way we're being very specific. All right. So now if the bats on screen are less than the max bats, he's going to change size from 50 to 75%. He's going to switch between costumes. But we want him to go different areas. Again, if he pops up in the middle every time, it's going to be really boring. So let's go to the motion block, and we're going to go find go to the x, y coordinates. Now we use this block for the cat. I'm going to switch and show you. And it was very simple. All we asked him to do was go here and stay here. For him, we're going to make this a little bit more complex. So this block is very simple, but we can make it more complex. We can ask him or tell him to go anywhere on the screen. So what we're going to do is go to operators, and we're going to do 2 more pick randoms. So we're going to click them, drag them right in. So go to X, pick random. So on the x-axis, we want him to go negative 200 to 200. And on the y, click right in there, negative 150 to 150. That means he can go anywhere from 150 to 200 on either side. So he can go anywhere on the screen, basically. So that makes it pretty fun. Now, here's where we're going to get our game going. We're going to go to Control, and we're going to click Create a Clone of Myself. And we're going to snap it right in here. Okay, I'll stop right here to say create a clone of myself. We've done some pretty heavy lifting coding-wise right here. We've done variables, we've done 2 loops, so we have a nested loop here forever, and then an if-then. We have our less than symbol, which is probably taxing some students, and we also have a bunch of pick randoms in here. So this is a pretty complex piece of code for students. So when we get up to the create clone part, I tend to elaborate on the clones. I will talk about Star Wars and clones, get them thinking about the idea of clones. They tend to like that. So now we'll go to motion and turn 15 degrees. So that keeps our sprite turning. So again, keeping with the randomness. All right, we have our first bit of code. Let's hit the green flag and see how it looks. All right, here we go. Lots of bats. And they're popping up everywhere. And it looks great. Looks very good. Okay, so I'm going to hit stop. Excellent. And now I'm going to control the clones. So all those clones that pop up, we need to control them. We need to tell them what to do. So I'm going to go to Control, and I'm going to do when I start as a clone. And I'm going to go back to Data and select Change. It's going to say change score by 1. We'll change that to change bats on screen by 1. So when I start as a clone, I'm going to tell the variable to go up by 1. And then I'm going to go to Control over here, and I'm going to select wait until. Not wait 1 second, but wait until, and sensing, touching mouse pointer. So I'm going to ask the clones. The clones are going to go up by 1, and I'm going to say wait until. So clones don't do anything until it's touching the mouse pointer. That's what this block means. Wait until 1, and I'm going to go back to Data, and I'm going to go change score by 1. So I'm going to want the score to go up by 1, and then another one, change score, change bats on screen by -1. So this is telling the computer that this is telling the program that if I'm touching one of the bats, I want the bat on screen to go down by 1. Now, it's just a variable. That's just a placeholder. It doesn't actually tell the game to do anything. The game does not know that I want a bat to disappear. So I have to connect it to, in the control blocks here, delete this clone. These 2 blocks are connected now. Change bats on screen when I'm touching the mouse pointer. So take away 1 bat when I'm touching the mouse pointer. Is connected to delete this clone. Now it'll actually delete it. It will not delete it if I don't put this in here because the game doesn't know I want it deleted. So now let's try it. That's our second bit of code. Let's try it again. All right. Now, as they go, I don't have to click them. I just move the mouse over them, and there they go. They are disappearing. And as you can see, my score is going up. And you can also see over here, my max bats are 25. It's only keeping 25 on the screen. And every time I hit one, if I go quickly, you can see the bats on screen number right here will go down and then rapidly back up. That's how quickly it's cloning. So I'm going to hit stop. And now let's do our next 2 pieces of code. All right, at this point, your students might be getting a little code fatigue. They see that fun part of the game, so the game's playable at this point, and some of them might be tempted to play. So what we're going to do is I'm going to move quickly through the next variable. We're going to create another variable countdown. So don't be disheartened if they're getting a little fatigued by this whole process. You can only keep them interested so long, and plus this big chunk of code up here took up a lot of wavelength. So here we go. I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to go down here, data, make a variable, and I'm going to do countdown. And for all sprites, now this is going to give us a timer. So we want our game to be 60 seconds long. So now, here we go. We're going to go to events. When the green flag is clicked, I'm going to go back to data, and I'm going to do set countdown timer to 60 seconds in a minute, so 1 minute game. I'm going to do another loop. I'm going to go to control, and you can also you can't repeat the word loop enough. So when we go to control and we're going to use one of these, you can keep saying loop, 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 variable, variable. Those are computer words that the students they can't be exposed to enough. So I'm going to use a repeat until loop here. So I want this action to repeat until something else happens, like the if then. I want it to do something until something else happens. Also like the wait, I want it to wait until touching the mouse. So wait or repeat until, we're going to use operator, we're going to use another less than symbol, and we're going to go back to data and choose a countdown as our variable. So click this, drag it over. Repeat until countdown is less than 1. And what do I want it to do? I want to go back to control. If I'm clicking too quickly, just remember you can rewind this video. I'm going to go back to control and click wait 1 second. I'm going to go back to data and change countdown by -1. So this is going to make my countdown timer go down. And then I'm going to stop the program. I'm going to go to control, stop, all. You can change this to other scripts in the sprite. And then you can do this. I recommend it. Just as good practice, you can do broadcast. So I go to events, broadcast, message. You can type in here, click in here, it'll say new message. We can do times up. Okay, and then one last thing, when I receive this broadcast, when I receive this message, we're going to change that to times up. I want it to delete this clone. Okay, excellent. There we go. Our game is done. Let's give it a test. So big screen, green flag. All right, it looks very good. It's working. The countdown timer is going down. My score is going up as I hit the guys. Now it's a little ugly though. There's no background. Our cat's still here. All these options are right here. It is pretty ugly. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back. And I'm gonna show you a couple tricks. So at this point you may lose some students. They may just want to play it, but try to get them to hang in to see these two tricks. So data, back in the data panel at the blocks palette, we're going to select bats on screen and max bats. Just uncheck those. And now you only have two variable right here. So now actually you can go ahead and just move those wherever you want. If you prefer, do countdown first and then score below, so it makes it look nicer. And then now let's choose a backdrop. And again, students can waste some time with this. So how did I go to backdrop? Down here, backdrop, I click the very first button, and that's going to be choose a backdrop from library. And let's choose the bedroom 2. And it's going to import that backdrop. Hopefully. Let's try it again. Bedroom 2. Okay, there we go. Sometimes scratch is a little glitch. You got to do it a couple times. So there we go. Let's try it one more time. Our program. Oh, it looks great. So our score is going up, countdown's going down, and now you can have the students ask their parents to do things to test it, see who gets the higher score. You can do a little tournament here. And what's great is now if they have an account, they can save this entire video game. So they can go back and show their teachers or anyone else, yes, I created this entire code. So again, it may seem a little above their heads when they're actually doing it, but to have this connected to them, something that they can take away in a digital format and show someone else, say, yeah, I did this before. It's pretty impressive, and it's great for some STEAM experience. So there's other things you can do. You can have the cat talk through the program, tell you good job, other things happen. You can introduce another sprite and a variable to make like a red bat pop in that was worth a ton of points if you get it. Maybe he flies around the screen, he's really hard to get. Again, Scratch is totally customizable. It's fully customizable. You can do almost anything. So that was the Bat Swat game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you get to use it with your students. Thank you.